If you, like me, know you can improve on your productivity levels, know you can get a lot of things done and you can achieve more in a day, and you would like maybe some hints and tips of people who actually are experts in that, this book is for you. Good day, family. Welcome once again to our book club discussion and summaries. We're looking at different books. You can recommend if you have a book that you want us to share a summary of as well. Today's book is Getting Things Done by David Allen. Talks about the art of stress-free productivity. Guys, it is an art. You can actually work on it, practice some tools and some skills and some features, and actually get it done right. Now, David Allen caught my attention when he said it's possible for a person to have an overwhelming number of things to do, like we all normally do, and still function productively with a clear and positive sense of relaxed control. Now, when he said that, he caught my attention, guys, because this is something that we find ourselves in. We've got so many commitments. We're involved in committees. We have got work commitments. We've got life commitments. You probably are a parent and you've got a family to run. There's homework on the side. There's your pressures as well, and you still wanna manage and achieve your own personal goals and things like that. So we find ourselves having a number of things to do, and you've got to juggle them. And there's only 24 hours in a day, and yet within this 24 hours, the same 24 hours, a lot of other people are able to get a lot of things done. Now, this book is intended to help you, to pay attention, close attention to things that you can do to maximize on your 24 hours and get things done and be productive every single day, and make it a lifestyle of being a productive person, not necessarily losing some of the things that you really want to do, and maybe in some cases you have to do, but doing them in an efficient manner and still possibly having time for yourself. Okay, so in fact, David Allen says it is a requirement. These days it is a requirement that you're able to function productively, and still be able to maintain a relaxed control. If you don't do that, you will be stressed out, you will be frustrated, and your performance levels are going to be highly affected. Okay, so let's look at the summary of the book Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity by David Allen. And here follows the summary. Good day once again, guys. David Allen talks about two key objectives. He says, number one, you need to capture all the things that need to get done into a logical and trusted system, which will be outside of your head and of your mind. And the second objective, he says, you need to discipline yourself to make front-end decisions about all of me inputs, that you let into your life, so that you always have a plan for next actions that you can implement at any moment. So basically, if you are able to get these two objectives achieved, you essentially have achieved a lot where this book is concerned. Now, the first one, like I just mentioned, is that you capture all the things that need to get done, and you have a system. If you're able to have a system that works, it's going to allow you to be able to set some of these to-dos outside of your own mind, outside of your own head. There should not be constant reminders telling you, hey, I need to be done, hey, I need to be done too. Constant reminders that pop up at head of times. But there should be a system, and if these reminders do come up, you should have a way to record them, and you should have a way to deal with them and not allow them to impede your productivity. As well, like he mentions, the importance of being disciplined. Okay, like if you want to sort out your productivity levels, it's not about doing something once off and assuming that miraculously it's going to continue itself. It requires consistency, discipline, routine. Okay, so get yourself disciplined and make sure that you're going to get things sorted out properly, and then you're able to attend to certain actions, and well, to all actions, but you have a specific way of doing that and you're sticking to that in a very disciplined manner. Okay, so this book provides a proven method, okay? Like proven because we're talking about an expert in the field of productivity. Our author today, David Allen, is an expert when it comes to productivity. He deals with many clients. He talks of, certain examples and certain, incidents and case studies where he dealt with people and there was an issue and he was able to use the hints and tips he talks about in his book, and they were able to help those people. So he provides a proven method, or maybe proven methods, for high performance workflow management. He shares tools and tips and techniques and tricks that need to be implemented. Again, it's not about reading this book and assuming that it's going to do, the work by itself. The information is going to just do, itself. You need to implement. Okay, the key to all of this is implement. And even though there will be a lot of hints and tips and tricks, and techniques that he shares, if you can even take one and implement it very well, it's going to make a huge difference in how your productivity levels are going to be like and how your performance, is going to be improved. So he mentioned some problems. The problems are that, there's new demands. There's always something that comes up. There's always that need for you to decide, am I going to say yes to this? Am I going to say no to this? Is this something that is going to serve my cause? Do I want to commit to this, or do I want to stay away from? There's always going to be those demands, and even things that you pursue and you really want. Let's say, for example, that promotion. It's going to come, with even more demands. So, the more we work and we strive towards our own growth, the more we attract more demands. So there's always new demands. And in most cases, however, there would be insufficient resources. There could be like sort of good resources, but insufficient, when it comes to the demands that come in place. By the way, time is a resource on its own. So even if you have all of the tangible resources at hand, in some cases you'll find that you run out of time. A very, very important resource that we have to learn to manage as well. So people have enhanced quality of life, but at the same time, they're adding to their stress level by taking on more than they have the resources to handle. Sometimes though, you don't really know that you don't have the time to handle this, because at first it could present itself as, hey, all you have to do is just attend a few meetings and that's it. And soon enough, it leads on to something bigger. And soon enough, there's something else. And soon enough, you have another commitment. Say you are a parent and there's a baby on board. But again, you can't just be focusing on that. There's other things that you've got to focus on. So there's always these demands that come up, and it becomes detrimental if we're not able to on the onset be able to see, this is what I can handle. I can take on these commitments, I can work with these, and these ones, maybe let me put these aside and I can come back to them, or just totally say no to them and let someone else handle these. At the end of the day, I don't have to do everything. No one is Superman, superhuman. Like we all have our limitations, and so let's be realistic when it comes to those limitations. So for example, you find that in some cases we would have bigger eyes than we have the stomach to handle. So you see this and you wanna you can handle this and this as well. Your eyes are just everywhere, but the stomach can only handle so much. So, most of what frustrates us is sometimes when we've got things that we have to work and attend to, but we're not able to, because you know what? Yeah, it's a bit much. It does get to being a bit much. Okay, so again, we find ourselves being frustrated because how are we going to improve the situation? How are we going to get ourselves out of some of the commitments that we've agreed to? You find that some commitments, are commitments which will span, for months or for even a year. You find some commitments, hey, they continue for even longer than a year, like they continue for years. Some commitments even become lifetime commitments. So, we need to be very considerate in what we agree and what we commit to. So there's constant changes that one needs to adjust to and adapt to, making it hard to stick to a particular work routine. That's another problem. You find that, you sort of have a system in place for whatever commitment you already had, and then soon enough, a case of emergency comes up, and then now there are changes, I mean, who thought there will be things like COVID that just require some people to just no longer work in an office and have to adjust to working, offline, and having to learn new systems of doing things, and having to, to readjust, their work order completely. So there are constant changes. Someone once said, the only thing that is constant in life is change. Yeah, it's a bit tricky, but we need to face those kind of realities as well. So because of such constant changes, we find that you can't even stick to what you thought you could manage. You could manage it for some time, and now there's certain change, and now you have to readjust, and it's taking time for you to readjust. And if you don't readjust, however, it's affecting your performance and your productivity levels as well. And also, there's so many distractions. All of a sudden, you were working on something, here's a phone call, there's certain news, someone needs to talk with you, and someone else brings their problem to you, and they want to hear your views on this, and you don't want to seem as if you are a lone wolf, you're working by yourself. You want to be a team player, so you want to assist other people as well, but you need to manage your own self. So there are those distractions that also constantly come into play, and that affect how you perform or how productive you get to be. But it's important that you're going to be assertive, and learn to say no, and don't feel bad about it. You need to say no. Okay, so David Allen also shares the promise. He says there's a way to get a grip on it all, to stay relaxed and get meaningful things done with minimal effort across the whole spectrum of your life and work. So he says it is possible. These are the kind of things that, really caught my attention when I read through his book, when he says these things are actually definitely possible. Because when you think of it, and you see how someone else is saying it's possible, and he explains some of the things that you also most likely will be going through, it helps with you having that, like that hope. What, if he could do it, if other people can do it, maybe I can do it too. Maybe I can work towards improving it, because as he says, and I will repeat, it is possible. So get in a state which martial arts call a mind like water. And sport athletes would normally say the zone, get in the zone. If you get in the zone, if you get into that mind like water, which is a state of working and being, which the mind is clear and it's constructive, and and because of that clarity, constructive things are happening. It's a state that is accessible to everyone, by the way, and it is absolutely necessary. It's needed to deal effectively with the complexity of life in the 21st century. So, you've been at some point, in your life, in the zone. You've been at the point where you feel like you're focused on your work, you are getting things done. You just, if you're a student, you've been in that zone where you're feeling like, what, you're actually studying and information is getting into your head, and you're able to absorb it, and you're absorbing it very, very well. So that state is important, for you to have a way to return to it. You want to be in that state as much as possible. You want to create an environment conducive that you're going to be in that state as much as possible, because when you're in that state, that is when you are at your peak productivity levels. Okay. Now he explains, if you're to take a pebble and throw it, on a river, the water, would not move any more or any less than the pressure of that pebble. So it will handle it, and then from there it will continue to the way that it was before. So the water responds according to the force of that pebble, but soon it returns to its normality. It does not stay any longer than it needs to. It does not get affected necessarily by the pressure it received. It deals with that pebble, at that time, and then from there it returns to its normality. It gives that pebble as much attention as it needs, or as little attention as it needs, and then from there it goes back to its normality. Doesn't allow itself to be changed by, the pressure of that pebble. So it remains calm, and clearing the mind, and being flexible are key. That is what we're learning from this book. So if you're able to be a person to, if you're able to, to conduct yourself in a very calm and tranquil manner, and even when there's pressure, you don't allow yourself to get stuck in the state of there's pressure. I'm panicking. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run around. I'm going to do this. No. Deal with what needs to get done, right? But then in the best manner possible. By the way, there are tools to help you deal with that. In the book, they shared those tools as well. But soon after that, you want to get into a state of your normality, that I'm done with that. Now I can actually calm down and return to what my normality is, right? So that I'm ready to receive the next task. I'm ready to continue. Should I have been in my zone? If I were in my mind like water state, I want to return to that, and not allow that pebble or even that distraction to take me away from what I need to get done. So once again, clearing the mind and being flexible are key. When you clear your mind, you allow yourself to focus, and when you're flexible, you are able to attend to something but return to your state of normality. Those two are key. And I quote David Allen once again: anything that causes you to overreact or underreact can control you, and often does. Most people give either more or less attention to things than they deserve. So simply because they don't operate with a mind like water. So you don't want to overact or underact. You want to give just the right amount of action to whatever task, whatever pressure comes and presents itself to you. Okay. Yes, especially when you are in your state of in your zone. Yes, in a state of mind like water. Okay, so here's a question: have you ever felt like you were in the zone? Okay, and do you know how to get yourself in that state? And do you know, most importantly, guys, do you know, family, do you know how to stay in that state? If you don't, if you need assistance with any of the questions I just asked, then stick around, because this book is exactly what you need to read. It's exactly what you need to implement after reading. That what you learn from this book, you need to implement. Okay, so the principle is that dealing effectively with internal commitments. Okay, so you want to deal effectively with internal commitments. Internal commitments, whether large or small, do affect your productivity. Anything you accept to do or feel the responsibility to do, you must do it quickly, because if you don't, it is captured in your subconscious mind and will continue to affect you until it is attended to. Now, this is quite interesting. Our mind, we've got layers and layers of mind. We've got the conscious mind, we've got the subconscious mind. There's also the super conscious mind. There's a layer apparently lower than the subconscious mind. When you read more about this, it's a very interesting topic to read and understand. But David Allen analyzes here and he shares with us that if we don't get things done, they have a way of just sticking around in our subconscious mind, because your mind knows. You may be saying, I forgot. Your mind didn't forget. Your mind has got this stuff captured, and so it has a way of just bringing it up. And it brings it up at a time when you don't necessarily want it to be brought up, because it could be a time when you don't really know or you don't have the means to act on it. But it will be stored in your mind. So you want to get into the habit of attending to things, pretty quickly. Don't let things stick around for as long as, wherever, but you want them to be dealt with as soon as possible as well. So those internal commitments, you get those things that, it's something, that you want to do. It's something that you want to accomplish, but you're not doing anything about it. It is going to bug you. You're going to not feel fulfilled. You won't be satisfied, up until you get those things done, because they are actually most meaningful to you as well. And those are normally the things that don't have a deadline, by the way. Those are normally the things that no one is going to remind you about. No one is going to say, hey, when are you submitting this goal of yours? When are you submitting this achievement of yours? No. These are the things that will be up to you to achieve as well. But if they don't get done, they have a way of just affecting you subconsciously. And when your subconscious is constantly saying, hey, I'm not an achiever, hey, I can't keep true to my own commitments, I can't keep true to what I say to myself, I'm not a man or a woman of my own word. It is a way of affecting how you see yourself. It is a way of affecting how you perform, because it is just there. It's underlying, but it affects what you do as well. So deal with those as soon as possible, right? Don't let them just sticking around for longer than they need to. Also, be careful what you accept and commit to. Should you accept to do it, make sure to get it done. Okay, it's super important, guys, that we become people of integrity. And that integrity, if you don't stick to it, like, it has a way of just bugging you. It's not about, just the reputation that everyone else has and sees and, associates to you, but it's also about you and yourself, how you get to perceive yourself, how you value yourself, how you respect yourself. So be true to whatever it is that you said you will do. If you said you'll do it, do it. If you're not sure, why don't you say no? It's okay to say no, I'm not going to do it. Be true to yourself. So set reminders. If you said you're going to do it, set reminders, put some systems in place to ensure that you're going to do it. And but don't leave tasks undone. Okay, don't leave tasks undone. There's a way to affect you. Okay, so here's an action step. Think of what you've been delaying to do, or what has been weighing you down the most in your to-do list. When you look at that list of to-dos and you're thinking, okay, this one, I want to do it. Man, it needs me to do this first, and I need to do that. And, you sort of are going around it because it seems like a big task for you to accomplish, right? I want you to think of that. Think of that something in your to-do list, which is important, by the way, meaningful to you, but you have been delaying or procrastinating to do for quite some time. And yet it weighs you down. When you come to it, you're like, oh yeah, I've got to come back to this, but I haven't gotten it done, right? Look at that item. Don't think too much. Just think of the next thing that you need to do to move forward, right? So if, for example, you wanted to get your next degree, what is the next thing that you can do about it? Have you applied? Maybe you can apply, Have you done research of different universities that you can, apply at? If it means getting some funds, have you started approaching some places to assist with the funds? Have you started saving up for it? But look at what it is that you can do next about it and do that, right? So that you also feel a sense of progress. You also feel as if you're actually working towards this project or this task. Because some projects, will not get done. But what does get done will be the action steps, the small steps that lead towards the project being done or that big task being done. So focus on that, focus on what you can do next and what you can do now, and do that. So you'll find that though hosting, or I mean, though nothing has changed, you gain better mind and clarity simply by clarifying what needs to be done, and the next immediate step that you can work on, and then you focus on doing that. So just simply, looking at what it is that you can do next, even if you haven't really achieved much, you haven't done something major, but even doing some research, you have moved a step forward. You will feel that sense of progress. You'll feel that sense of productivity because you have done at least something more than you had before towards whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Okay, there's also usually no right answer, but there'll be choices instead, and there'll be results. So you want to actually clarify so that you know clearly that, hey, this is how I can determine that this is done or maybe it's not done, right? Because sometimes you can't say yes or no, because you have maybe done some part of it, and maybe some tasks you can't really finish. For example, ending world hunger. You can't really finish that because it's bigger than you, but it's important to you as well. So you can do something about it. Have you done what you can do towards what you want to accomplish? Yes, well, that's good. Have you clarified it? Will you know when you have done and you've met that specific requirement? You need to clarify it. So you need to be clear, you need to specify, and once things are clear and they're specified, you will feel, you working towards productivity because you'll be able to know what it is you have done, specifically, and you'll know what it is that you can do next specifically. You'll already be moving towards getting what you need to get done. Okay, so once again, so there's no right answer, but choices and results have to be clearly specified if productivity is to be achieved. Specify clearly. So, the outcome of thinking is one of the most effective means available for making wishes a reality. Okay, so if you think about outcomes, what outcome do I want to achieve, from this? What is the end result that I want to achieve from this? Okay, clarify on that and work towards that. Okay, and measure that. It is going to be much more, useful for you when you're able to do that. Why are things on your mind? Now, that's a question that is asked in the book, and David Allen highlights something important by raising this question. Why are certain things on your mind? Because, you want their outcomes to be different than what they are, is what he suggests as an answer. So something will come, it'll keep reminding you because you want it to be attended to. It's going to weigh you down, it's going to bug you because you want it to be addressed, you want it to be attended to. If it was done and accomplished, maybe you are not going to think about it as much, but if it still needs to be done, your mind has a way of just saying, hey, I'm still here. Okay, and it will keep affecting you. So you want their outcomes to be different than what they are, and because of that, it will still stay in your mind. So, and also, if you haven't yet clarified exactly what the outcome should be, then that item will still be in your mind because it has not yet been clarified that, hey, I want to do this about this task at this point, right? You haven't yet clarified, and because of that, it'll still be in your mind. Your mind will still roam about this particular task. And also, if you haven't decided what the immediate next physical action step should be, Okay, if you don't know what you want to do next about it, it's still gonna come in your head, right? Getting that degree will still come in your head unless if you have clearly, specified and you have broken down that this is the next action step and you have worked on that action step. It'll keep saying, hey, I still need to be done. But if you say, here's the next step and you've done the action step, at least you will be able to tick off that action step. Okay, so important. Put that next step into action. Okay, again, you can say this is going to be my next step, but up until you do that next step, the reminder will still be there. Okay, so it's not about this whole book, actually, it's not about sharing good ideas and techniques for you to just be aware of. No, it's to make you aware of them, but for you, most importantly, to implement them. So basically super important is for you to get to work. Okay, get the work done. The book will highlight some hints and tips, but you need to get the work done. So remember, you can fool everyone else, but you cannot fool your own mind. Your mind is going to say, well, you're trying to fool, you are hiding this is not done. Your mind knows when you're lying because it's you. Right? Yeah, so don't lie to yourself. Be truthful to yourself, most importantly. Your mind won't forget those untaken steps and will keep pressuring you and even frustrate you till you do something about them. Okay, your mind just does that. It just works against us like that. So let's not try and fool ourselves by trying to fool our minds, because our minds are going to go are going to work against us when you do that. Rather, let your mind to work for you. Yeah, let your mind to work for you. Let your mind to even remind you of the things that you need to be doing when you can work on them. Again, once a system is set in place, you can arrive at that stage of productivity in your life where even your mind is going to be working for you. Okay, so the key to managing all of your stuff, now your stuff is anything, all these stuff that you can be committed to. The key to managing all of that is to manage your actions. Okay, you can't manage everything, but you can manage the action steps that you can take. You can't manage the weather. You can't manage, how people are gonna perceive your idea. You can't manage how well your idea is gonna go. You can't manage a lot of things, but you can manage the action steps that you can take. What is it that you can do? And all these action steps, when you put them together, they build up towards the kind of results that you want for your for whatever stuff or whatever task that you have at hand. So managing the action is the actual challenge. Okay, so you need to learn, how am I going to manage this action? Because once you can manage the action, you can get a lot of things done. So therefore, what you do with your time, what you do with information, what you do with your body and focus relative to your priorities, those are the real options to which you must allocate your limited resources. You need to focus on what you do. Yeah? Focus on what you do, focus on your actions, and that is what will yield the kind of results that you most desire. So the real issue is managing actions, it's managing the what we do. Okay? Yeah, you get distracted. No one can really control some distractions. Distractions will come. It's a matter of what you do when the distractions come, right? Overwhelming activities come and they come to everybody. It's a matter of what you do to handle those items, okay? What you do with the information that's at your disposal, what you do with your time, what you do. That is what you can manage, and that is what you should manage, and that is what will make a difference in your productivity levels, in how you perform, and how you are able to make the most of your day. So take a note of this. Though people may complain they don't have enough time to work on a project, you can't do a project. You need to remember that you can't do a project, you do actions related to the project, and in doing those actions you get the project done. Okay, so you can't say, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time to do this project. Of course you will not have enough time to do anything, right? I mean, to do a huge project, but you will have time. You will have the ability to do certain tasks, to do the action steps, right? To take one task, complete that task, and work on another task, complete that task, and work on another task. And also, the problem is not a lack of time, but rather a lack of clarity on what the next required step is, right? It's not about, some people will just complicate the steps, right? This is what you need to do, but you know what? You want to make it fancy, you want to make it perfect, and because it needs to be perfect, this needs to be done, and you end up adding on to it more than you actually need to. So, if you are clear on what you want to accomplish with this task, and if you are clear on what is required to get it done, and you get it done very well with what is required to get it done. If you get into that habit, guys, you can accomplish a lot of things, and you will see that, it really was not much of a train smash, and I actually am able to get this done, and my day is maximized because I focused on what is it, on what the action steps are towards getting this thing done, and that is something I can manage, and that is what I have managed, and look at how productive my day has turned out. So an advice that we recommended to follow is to work on a bottom-up approach, which is where you start with the ground level mundane tasks, the current activity and the current commitments, and you start with the right now tasks. So you don't have to start with the big goals and, I want to accomplish this. No, start with those tasks, those mundane tasks, which will be at the ground level. Work on completing those tasks, move your way up. The more you complete these tasks, the more you complete them properly, and in the required way, the more even those will help lead you, to where you want to arrive at. It's where it will lead you to the up, right? So a bottom-up approach is one that is being recommended for us to use in our work order. Now, many executives, this is what David Allen mentions, many executives I have worked with, David Allen says, I have worked with during the day to clear the decks of their mundane stuff have spent the following evening having a stream of ideas and visions about their company and their future. This is an automatic consequence of unsticking one's workflow. So he says, if you are able to get things done, it even helps to clear your mind. You are able to get more ideas flowing. You're able to get a lot more things, done, and you're able to allow space in your mind, space that was occupied by undone tasks, right? And blame game and dissatisfaction and guilt. You're able to clear your mind from all of that and have space for new ideas, and this is how you can improve on the task at hand, right? Because this is what you deliberately have worked on. So it's a recommendation: work on these tasks, these mundane tasks, get them done. If you don't have the time, the resources to do it, delegate, but allow yourself to attend to every task. Don't leave tasks undone. So you need to manage horizontally and vertically. Horizontally is when you manage different tasks. Okay, so you need to, attend to school commitments. You need to attend to life commitments. You need to attend to this. There's this. There's this. There's this. There's this. Right? The different tasks horizontally. You need to be able to learn to manage those. And when you manage those, again, you decide which one is a priority. Which one do I agree to, okay? Which task do I take, and things like that. You need to be able to manage, on the different tasks that come up, but also you need to be able to manage vertically. So take one of those horizontal different tasks and work up, right? Bottom-up approach, like what we suggested, by the way. So manage different layers of that same task, right? How can I get my studies done, right? When do I study? Where have I set a calendar? When do I review my work? How am I absorbing information that I receive? Do I have assignments to work on? What is the time frame that I have? How am I following that? All of that, have a way to also manage vertically, so that every task task that you have, is well attended to, even vertically, and it gets, the most amount of attention from you in a very managed manner. So when you're doing something and you find your mind is wandering, okay, that happens to a lot of us. You're working on a task and you at your zone, you're at your peak levels of productivity, and then your mind starts to wander. It just thinks of something else, right? And sometimes it could wander to something that's important, right? Maybe some news of someone told you something that was disturbing today, or maybe something else that you were supposed to be doing that you're not doing, or something else that your mind has stored subconsciously. So when that happens, stop what you're doing, write it down, okay? Let your mind know that, okay, I've taken this reminder, I'm going to action it and get back to what it is that you need to be doing. Because if you don't do that, your mind will keep reminding you, all right? Or maybe you'll find yourself feeling sad, you're feeling that guilt, it does other things, working against you because now it reminded you of something and you procrastinating, right? But if you receive the reminder, write it down. I'm going to get back to it. Okay. Are we good, mind of mine? Yes. Can we get back to productivity now? Yes. Okay. And then you get back to being productive. So those are again some hints and tips that you can use, to let your mind work for you. That way your mind has reminded you of something that's important, right? Yes, that's a good thing. You want your mind to remind you, okay? So you've actioned it, but now you need your mind to help you stay on your productivity levels, on your zone, so that you are going to perform at your best level possible. So now that you've written it down and you've returned to what you're doing, you can get, a lot more done. If you don't, your brain, like we said, will keep reminding you, and because you can't do something about it, you will worry. Okay, we don't want you to be at the state of worry. So thank your brain, write it down, okay? And noted, brain of mine, let's get back to work and get back to work. All right. Getting control of your life. We learn again in this book the 5 stages of mastering workflow. Now, as I read through this, guys, I received a lot of bingo and aha moments. Okay. I love the section of the book. So, 5 stages of mastering your workflow. Stage number 1, you want to collect things that command your attention. Okay, so all the things which are incomplete, all these things that need to be done, step number 1, you want to, to collect them. Okay, have a way that you're going to collect all the things, that command your attention. Now, the author elaborates a lot on these 5 stages, guys. Like, when you get a copy of your own book, you will find how important, it is for you to collect these items, because if you don't collect these items, they can be everywhere. Some will be there in your house and, stored in different parts of your brain as well. But if you collect them, and that I've got this, I've got this item, preferably even list them so that you're working with this and you're working with that and you're working with this, right? It will help you to manage better when you know what it is that you are working with and you are aware of all of what you are working with. So step number 1, or stage number 1, is collect the things that command your attention. Stage number 2 is to process what they mean and what to do about them. Okay, so you want to process, okay, this one I need to work on, okay, this one I need to give to someone else, right, this one, and so on and so forth. You need to be able to process what needs to what they mean to you, right, as well as what to do about them. Stage 3 is to organize the results. Okay, you need to organize, okay, the results, as well as stage 4, review the results, and step 5, you want to do the action. Okay, so basically everything is already being collected, whether we like it or not. Okay, this is now the first stage. Everything is collected whether we like it or not. It's either you have collected it yourself, right, or your mind has made a collection of it. Okay, your subconscious mind has kept it. Either way, it's collected. Okay, So it's easier when you collect it, so you do something about it. Or if your mind collects it and your brain collects it and it's stored in your subconscious mind, it's going to work against you. Okay, so when you collect it, you store it in a place other than your head. Okay, so this is absolutely important. You don't want it stuck in your head and overwhelming and crowding your head, because you want to use, your brain to generate ideas, right? You want to use your brain. You want your brain to be clear. You want it to be clean. So you don't want to be keeping and cluttering, it with all of the stuff that you need to be working on. So take them out of your head, collect them, right? And put them in a system, in an orderly and organized system that you're going to be working towards completing. Okay, so you may use any collection tool of your choice, but the key is to choose one that you will stick to. Okay, don't go for something digital if you know that you prefer something written. Don't go for buying tools and cupboards and boxes and shelves if you know that you prefer something digital, right? Go for something that you know you're going to use, because the importance in all of this is that you're going to do it, right? Is that you're going to use whatever system that you've decided upon. So you don't have to follow and copy other people's systems. You want to decide on a system that's going to be functional, for you, one that you would continue with, because you need to work on it consistently. So get it all out of your head. Okay, again, if it's not collected by you, your brain will collect it. So start collecting it so that your brain doesn't feel the need, to keep it, and it's going to be reminding you of it. No, you collected it, you're going to be working on it. Now, the collection tools should be part of your lifestyle, your daily routine. Okay, this is stressed out so many times. Try to have a system of how you collect and, and use one collection zone. Okay, so yes, you would collect. Maybe you're out and you are, out in town, and you're out at church, at the park, whatever. Decide on a system of how you collect, and find a way to ensure that you will have one collection zone. Maybe if you're collecting from outside, you put it in a bag or in a pouch somewhere in your, somewhere, and then when you arrive home, it all goes to one place. Or maybe you take a picture of it and you store it in one section, in one album, of your photos. But have a way that you're collecting the stuff and have one collection zone, so that your mind doesn't have to remember the different collection zones. Okay, make it easy for your brain and your mind. Implementing standard tools for capturing ideas and input will become more critical as your life and work become more sophisticated. So the more you want to advance and progress and be someone meaningful and have other commitments and priorities and responsibilities, you need to make sure that you have your tools for capturing ideas and your tools for capturing input. Okay, you want to have your input and collection tools set in place. So notice, your best ideas about your work will not come to you at work. It's quite interesting. But the ability to leverage that thinking with good collection devices is key to increase productivity. So what if your best idea comes and you're not in your desk, right? What do? Okay, so you want to have a way to capture these ideas as they come and process them, from your one collection zone, but in a manner that is considerate, and it's aware that if it comes and I'm not in the office, this is what I do with it and this is how I work with it. It's not something that surprises me. It is part of the system that I have set in place. So another thing, you don't want to have buckets of input that you keep piling and piling on. You want to empty them. Okay, that is where the productivity also comes in. As much as you collect, you want to be able to empty as well. So as much as it is important to collect, it is equally important to empty the collection tools so you have the ability to recollect. I would even say it's even more important, because that is where you get to feel productive, right? Productivity is not about collecting, and saying, yes, I'll do it, yes, I'll do it, yes, 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 yes. It's about getting it done. Okay, so you need to work on emptying those inputs or those stuff bins so that you're going to have space for others. So, as stuff come, because they will come, you need to decide if number one, they're actionable or not. Are you able to action on this task? Yes or no? Okay. You need to be able to decide if they're yours to do, or maybe you should give them to someone else. You don't have to do everything that's under the sun. You need to be able to decide which one is yours to do and which one is not yours to do. And number three, you need to decide if they'll take less than 2 minutes. Okay. So if it'll take less than 2 minutes, it's actually advisable that you just do it. Okay. Again, if you can do it, if it is actionable, and if it is yours to do, it's something that you should be doing, and it'll take 2 minutes, it's advisable that you do it. Just get it done, over and done with it. You know that you can quickly tick off that from your to-do list, and you already feel, I've done that. Okay. So, if again they're yours to do, okay, and they will take more than 2 minutes, then you need to decide if are you going to delegate them, or are you going to maybe defer them, right? Do them at a more suitable time. Okay, so make such a decision and focus on what is next. Now, this is part of that workflow that David Allen advises, okay? As you collect items, immediately decide, okay, is it actionable? Is it mine to do? Okay. Will it take less than 2 minutes? If yes, I'll do it. Will it take more than 2 minutes? Well, if it takes more than 2 minutes, then I can decide. Will I delegate it, right? Or will I defer it to a later time, right? As soon as possible. Or maybe I can say I will defer it to an hour from now, or I'll defer it to tomorrow, or I'll defer it to immediately when I finish this task, okay? But you need to decide on those items as soon as possible. So, getting projects creatively underway. Again, there are 5 phases of project planning. Okay, you need to plan your projects. Your mind is quite interesting. It's the biggest planner. So, it goes through 5 steps to accomplish virtually any task. Okay, these are the 5 steps. Number one, defining purpose and principle. Number two, outcome visioning. Number three, brainstorming. Number four, organizing. And number five, identifying next actions. Okay, so in this section, we learn how your brain, will plan certain activities. And so, say for example, you want to go out, on a dinner date with some friends. Okay, so the first part is defining the purpose and the principle. Why do you want to go to this place, right? So why is it important? Okay. Oh yeah, it's the beginning of the year, or it's someone's birthday. It's quite important. That is why we need to go to this. And the why will help you to determine the boundaries which you can set in place, right? Are you going to stay at this place for 2 hours? Are you going to stay at this place for many hours? Will you even go to this place or not, right? So when you define the purpose and the principles, they will help you determine the boundaries that you need to stick to, and you need to be disciplined enough to abide by those boundaries. Number two, again, outcome visioning. Okay, so what do you expect to experience at this? Now, David Allen talks about the power of focus, where you can actually already think about this activity, and sort of focus your mind on what you would like to achieve at this, or what you would like to experience at this, and sort of attract positive experiences. Sometimes you would plan an activity, you go there and everything goes wrong. The car didn't start, it started to rain, something fell, and then your key got lost in something, and the food was horrible when you arrived. So sometimes an experience is horribly bad, but sometimes when you take the time to just focus your mind and just focus on how positive the experience is going to be, you have a way of attracting that positivity. And even having an awesome day, it adds toward how productive you feel you've spent your day. Number three, brainstorming. Okay, you want to look at some logistics. Okay, what is it that you need to do, and think about some stuff in the planning, right? Do I need to buy a gift? Is it a birthday present? Is it a birthday party? Do I need to buy a gift, right? Is it a graduation? Do I have to wear specific outfit or whatever. So there could be some brainstorming that you actually have to put in place, yeah, for that activity as well. The fourth step, organizing. Okay, so hey, what gift am I gonna get? Where am I gonna go? Okay, I'm gonna go and buy this tomorrow after work, or I'm gonna do this, immediately after school, or I'm gonna write this letter, for my friend, or I'm gonna do this, so you want to organize that as well. And the first step, which is identifying next action. So for example, what is it that I need to do next? Okay, hey, I need to finish this assignment, I need to read this book, I need to go to town before shops close, I need to do this, and you need to work on those actions as well. So these are the 5 phases of project planning, which I discussed in this book as well. And again, these need to be done in their order. You don't want to find yourself, going out and then later you think, what was the purpose of this again? Right? Or later on, you're like, man, I didn't bring this. Had I brainstormed, I would have prevented this, Or, things go wrong. Oh, goodness, I should have, focused my mind on what could possibly turn out, positively turn out. So you want to use and follow these in the chronological order in which they're presented. So number 1, defining purpose. Number 2, outcome visioning. Number 3, brainstorming. Number 4, organizing. Number 5, identifying next actions. Once again, these are, again, I'm summarizing them. They're well elaborated in the book. It's a 278-page book. There's so much detail. It gives you a lot of, information in case you need further clarity on these concepts as well. Okay, so the book, by the way, is discussed in a part 1 and a part 2. So the part 2 discusses practicing stress-free productivity, getting started, setting up the time and the space. Welcome once again, family. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe. Okay, do like to share these videos. We look at some awesome books which we highly recommend our family to read. Do share if you have a book that you've read, you want us to give a summary of it, or a book that you're interested in. We can share a summary of that as well. Okay, so in part 2 of this book, we're looking at practicing stress or practicing stress-free productivity. Okay, you don't want to practice stress, guys. If stress is just something we don't want to practice, but practicing stress-free productivity. So you want to get started by setting up the time, the space, and the tools. Now, David Allen elaborates very deeply, in depth, when it comes to how you set up the time, how you set up the space, and how you set up the tools. So, for example, setting up the time, you want to be able to decide, am I gonna get this task done immediately when I wake up? Am I gonna get it done at work? I might get it done at whatever time. You want to be able to decide when you're gonna get it done. You want to be able to decide how much time you're gonna set aside for it. Are you gonna set an hour, and okay, in the next hour I don't want to be disturbed, this is what I'm gonna be focusing on. But you want to have a specific time that you're gonna set for this task, because that helps you, and it helps your mind to say, at this time I cannot be focusing on anything else. By the way, you can't spend 24 hours doing anything. You will get tired, you will get hungry. Okay, distractions will come, you will not be productive, you will not get it done right. So it's only realistic that you set specific time. I will set this time from this time to this time to work on this task, and I will not allow any distractions. Any distractions I will attend to later on, right? So you need, in order for you to be able to set boundaries, you need to be able to decide on a specific time. So this is important. Again, we're dealing with a 24-hour time frame here, which is one of the biggest issues that we that make us feel are we either productive or not. So given that, it's super important that you are very particular on the time that you're going to allocate for whatever task that you're going to be working on, and it's very important that you're going to stick to that time. And number 2 is the space. So the workspace. It's quite important that you decide on a specific workspace, because when you talk about how the brain can be programmed, we get to learn that if you set a specific space, and you know that you work at the space, when your mind when you arrive at that space, your mind has a way of getting in the zone. Okay, this is when we get to work, right? The time is set, the space is set. It helps your mind to get in the zone. And so you can establish an office workspace. You can establish a study desk, right? A certain section that your mind will feel familiar with, right? Because if your mind is always, needing to adapt to a space, right? Even that can take a lot from your productivity, because hey, it needs to feel comfortable. You could find yourself fidgety, but if you have decided on a specific space, this is what, and keep that space clean, guys. Keep the space clean so that when I get to the space is ready for me. I get there, I get to work, and your mind is going to help you with that as well. And the last one is the tools. Get the tools that you will need. Do you need stationery? Get the stationery. Do you need to get files? Get that. Do you need to have some sticky notes, whatever? Get that. Get the tools that you will need and get them ready, because if you don't, again, you will be stuck, or you will feel like you have a reason to stop because, hey, I don't have this. And if I get this, and then I can continue. But if you get all of what you're going to need, get it ready, set the time aside, be at the right space, you can be productive. Okay, so for example, if you put on your gym gear, you get some people that are feeling, okay, I want to exercise, I want to be healthy, but then, they're not really getting that done. But you find that person, when that person eventually puts on their gym gear and the shoes, and their body is now ready to get the action done, because they've put on the right gear, right? Yeah, so they've sort of set that expectation, and the mind is ready to get the task done. So put on your gears, for that exercise. Create that environment which will be conducive for what you want to do. This is very much important. Okay, so don't just do productivity when you feel like it. This is very important. But get yourself geared up for productivity. Don't just say, hey, I feel like doing it, I'll do it. I don't feel like doing it, I won't do it. No, you want to say, I will set the environment, and get myself ready to doing it. Okay, so don't allow yourself to be controlled by your own emotions. Okay, productivity, guys, it is an emotional intelligence thing, right? Yeah, so you need to be in control of your emotions. You don't want to be led by your emotions. You want to be in charge of your emotions. Again, I mentioned this one, I'll mention it again. Decluttering and organizing your space can be the difference between complete frustration and improved productivity. So, if you have a cluttered space and it's just everything is everywhere, your mind will also think in that way. And sometimes your cluttered space is a reflection of your mind is like, right? If you are disorganized on the outside, chances are you are disorganized on the inside too. Okay, so get yourself declutter, get rid of things you don't need. Okay, it's okay to let go, give certain things away, clean your space, keep it healthy, keep it fresh, keep it clean. Okay, and same thing, do that with what is in your mind as well. Let some things go, right? Say no to certain things. Okay, so you want to let cleaning and decluttering and organizing, let that be part of your lifestyle. The more you do that, is the more productive you're going to be. So if you've committed to a certain amount of time to setting up your workflow, then you will need to clear the decks of any other commitments for the duration of that time. Okay, if you've committed to doing, I'm going to be working on this, I'm going to clear this, set everything else aside. Okay, and focus on what it is you need to work on. So productivity is not about multitasking. Okay, I know, ladies, we like to multitask, but that is what takes away from your productivity. So it's okay to multitask. Sometimes you need to multitask, but there comes a time where you've got to put time, just block time out for a certain task. Now, at this time, I will not multitask anything. I'll put everything else aside and focus on doing this. Okay. Again, delegate if you need to. Okay. Put certain things in your on your calendar for the next day if you need to, but put time aside to get certain things done. Okay, and so delegate when necessary, do some things first, and deliberately tell yourself you'll do the other things later. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Okay, doesn't mean that you are, sidelining it. It just means that you will get it done. It's just a bit later. Okay, and chances are you will get what you need to get done, as well, because you have become realistic in how you can only do one thing at a time. So the first time you pick something up from your in basket, say now you've already, put your in basket and it's already there and there's items there. You need to decide what to do about it and where it goes. Never put it back in. Sometimes a person will start off and they'll have their in basket, but then soon enough they have their in basket and they keep putting things back. They take something, I'll do it later, and they put it back in the in basket. You don't want to do that. That is what makes you feel unproductive, because what did you do? You kept putting things back. Okay, so you want to receive it and be able to allocate it somewhere else, right? You've received it and you're going to put it somewhere else. This is where you're going to get it done. Okay, so the key process in question, therefore, is what's the next action? Okay, so as you get actions done, you want to ask yourself, which one is the next one? Have I done it? Good. And what's the next one? And so on and so forth. So when it comes to collection, again, it's not just about the tangibles. There's two layers here. There's the physical collection. That's true. You're collecting data and the input and the stuff. That's true. We can see how you've collected. You've written them down. You have a record of the list of to-dos. But there's also the mental collection. Okay. Yeah, and the mental collection is what can actually even overwhelm you. So you want to make sure that you are collecting things, and you are, getting rid of things. You are dealing with things. You're working with things. You're not dealing with triggers and traumas and, these fears and these concerns and worry and doubt and guilt and all that stuff. You want to have a mind sweep, right? Able to clear your mind of certain things, and be sober enough to work on what you need to work on. Okay, so in your in basket, make sure that you put something there, but they should not stay there. It's not a storage basket, it's an in basket of what you need to do. Okay, so as much as they need to get in the in basket, they need to get out of it. We need to empty that in basket. Okay, they need to be actioned on. Okay, so therefore you want to get in to empty. Okay, so as much as you want them to be in your in basket, you want to empty that in basket as well. So the workflow diagram, which David Allen mentions repetitively in his book, is what we take out from this, which is what, his entire program is all about, understanding this workflow diagram and using it. So when you're processing stuff, number one, we had said it before, we're saying it again. Number one, in your in basket, you want to ask yourself, what is it? Okay. What is an item? What is this item? Is it actionable, right? Is it mine to do? Okay. And if it is, can I do it in less than 2 minutes, right? And if yes, you can, then you know what? What's the next action? Okay. Can I do it in less than 2 minutes? Yes, then do it, right? On the other hand, is it actionable? If no, it's not actionable, you need to ask yourself, well, should I throw it away? Is it trash? Should I do it later on? Maybe put it on a calendar to do it tomorrow, or is it something that I need to store, right? And retrieve when I need it. Maybe it's something that you will need next year, or it's something that you need to be reminded of every year, that you can't really do anything about anytime soon. So again, classify those items as well. Okay, and so again, if it is something that you can do in less than 2 minutes, what did we say? If it's actionable and it's yours to do, okay, and you can do it in less than 2 minutes, do it. If it is something that you can't do in less than 2 minutes, then decide, are you going to delegate it or are you going to defer it for a later time? This is the system, guys. It's recommended that you even take a picture of it, store it somewhere, have this as a reminder, because this is what you need to follow at all times. Now, moving on, we're looking at processing rules. Okay, so three rules that we learned from David Allen. He says, process the top item first. Okay, so you should not decide when you're processing that, you know what, I feel like processing this one. Oh, no, this one is too. No. Processing, it's all about every item needs to have equal attention, because remember, if you don't allow it that attention, your mind is going to keep it, and we don't want it stored in your mind. So even if it's something that you feel, this one is less important, let me start with this one. No, if it was on your items to do first, you deal with that one first. Okay, don't allow it to linger in your mind longer than it needs to. Attend to it immediately, process it. Okay, so it's not about priorities. When you're processing, it's not about priorities. Everything must get processed equally, okay, so that it doesn't get to be stored in your mind. Number two, process one item at a time. Okay, so don't group process them, and you processing, and then from there you think of something else. Oh, this one, oh yeah, this one catches my attention. This one's more attractive. Let me go there. No, you process one item at a time. Okay, you deal with that item. Is it actionable? Is it mine to do? Can I do it in less than 2 minutes? If not, let me just allocate it where it needs to go. Do that with all the items. Again, if you don't do that and you're wandering between items and you're doing this and your mind is wandering because it sees something else, you will not get things done. And the last one, never put anything back into your inbox. Okay, again, I think some of us have been guilty of that one, but that's something that we recommended not to do. Never put it back into your in basket. Okay, you've seen it. Okay, process it, and it needs to move on. We want to empty that in basket. Okay, so the next part, keep it simple and functional. Okay, like this is super critical, because a lot of times the reasons why we don't get things done is because we just sophisticate them. We overly sophisticate things. But if we're gonna keep things simple, okay, like this is what needs to get done, this is what I'm doing, and you work on what and needs to get done, and that's it, right? And you don't complicate it, right? You just keep it simple. Again, you know yourself, you know what works best for you. Okay, so try and make it, tailor make it for yourself. Use the strategies, the techniques, but try and make it to fit you and your needs, and make it simple, something that you will follow. So we get checklists. You need to be open to creating any kind of checklist as the urge strikes you. The possibilities are endless. Making lists ad hoc as they occur to you is one of the most powerful, yet subtlest and simplest procedures that you can install in your life. So here's an item that you need to do. Here's an activity, but you know what? Make it a list, right? I'm going to the grocery store. A quick list. These are the items I need to get. Okay. I need to go on this camping trip. A quick list. These are the items I need to pack. Right. It will help you to get things done. Then you don't have to sit and, oh yeah, did I remember to pack my toothbrush? Did I remember? No, if you have the list, better yet, if it's something that you will be doing frequently, keep a list ready so that when I go camping, I retrieve that list, and then I've got these items packed. My packing has been efficient. That way you can even delegate someone else to help with your packing. Hey, please follow this list and help make sure that we have all of these items. Again, this is for parents who are grooming their children. They can have their kids follow their list as well. Okay, so have those checklists so you get things done, and as things get done, you also have got a sense of productivity. Keep it functional. Here's something else as well. You want it to be useful for you, okay? It's not something that should look pretty on a CV, something to say to impress your boss. It's something that should be functional for you and your lifestyle. So have a system in place for your work routine and to ensure that you are going to be productive. So for example, you are going to this grocery. I love making that example because that is where I feel I need the list myself. So knowing which other items you can do on the way, for example. Okay, so if you have a system, you're able to decide, okay, I'm going to the grocery stores, I'm gonna get milk and bread, and salads and stuff like that. And then on the way, hey, I can also, go to the bookstore and get that book that I wanted. Because if you plan for it before you go, you can get a lot of things done. You can, save your time, save some resources because you have planned. Then you don't have to go to this place and come back and go to that place again and come back, and spend an hour going to and fro and get stuck in traffic, and you still have to go back and you still forget something else. And, you don't want to waste your time with those kind of inconveniences. All right. So, the power of the weekly review. Okay. David Allen highlights that when you have started on whatever simple and functional system, that is in your workflow of being productive, you want to review it weekly. You want to review, what can I improve on, what can I do differently, right? Have that weekly review and, assess yourself, and improve when necessary. So the weekly review, simply put, is whatever you need to do to get your head empty again. It helps again to clear certain things, that mind sweep we talked about. This is what I can remove, I can work on this, I can take this out and stuff like that. You can do that every week, and then you're starting the week ready once again, to give in your maximum effort. It'll sharpen your intuitive focus on your important projects as you deal with the flood of new input and potential distractions coming at you the rest of the week. Because the week, again, it's going to have a lot more, it's going to have a flood of input. So you want to be able to say, hey, I've cleared my desk, right? I've checked what needs to be done. I've made some improvements. If my system needed to be improved on, I've made those improvements. There's some things that I'm going to be differently if it calls for that, and there's some things I'm going to be aware of. So you want to be able to review that on a weekly basis, as well as you want to be able to review your bigger picture. So you get the bigger picture review as well, which is where you determine that am I where I want to be, right? You want to be able to determine that, and you can, put some time to determine that. It can be monthly, it can be every second month or every second week, whatever you can decide, but you need to put time aside to review your bigger picture. Okay. So at some point, you must clarify the larger outcomes, the long-term goals, the visions, and the principles that ultimately drive and test your decisions. Okay, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, it still is in alignment with your bigger picture. Okay, so again, it's your bigger picture. You decide on it, but it's important that you stick to it as well. So, lastly, okay, David Allen mentions a criteria model for choosing actions in the moment. Okay, how do you choose, the actions that you work on in the moment? And number one, you look at the context. Is it possible to do this action now, right? Do I have the resources for it? Do I know enough to work on it? So the context is number one. Number two, do I have the time available to work on this? Okay, that time is very important. Number three, do I have the energy to work on this right now? Okay, sometimes it could mean that, hey, why don't you take a short nap and then come back, and you'll be, more productive to work on this task. As well as the last one, is it a priority? Okay, so those are the four critical models for choosing actions in the moment. Okay, so these are the pointers that I took from this book, guys. Like I said, it elaborates a lot more on these concepts, and I absolutely advise that you get a copy of this book. And I hope you also enjoyed my summary. Do share which parts were meaningful to you. Do share if there's any book that you also recommend we look at. Thank you for all those who've subscribed, guys. Family, let's do subscribe and let's grow the family as well. And thank you so much. Have a good one.